Jupiter in the 6th house. Generous service. Welcome to Jupiter in the 6th house in synastry. In this overlay, we explore what happens when one person's Jupiter falls into another person's 6th house, the house of daily routine, work, health, service, and the ordinary, unglamorous maintenance through which a life is actually sustained day to day. This overlay does not arrive with the drama of Jupiter in the 5th, nor with the rootedness of Jupiter in the 4th. Its register is modest, practical, and easy to overlook precisely because the 6th house itself governs what is overlooked: the daily tasks, the habits of upkeep, the small functional labour that rarely gets celebrated, but without which nothing else in a life holds together. Where Jupiter in the 5th expands pleasure and Jupiter in the 2nd expands resource, Jupiter in the 6th expands something far less glamorous and, in its own way, far more quietly necessary: the capacity to manage, maintain, and care for the ordinary business of being alive. Jupiter's essential nature does not change from house to house, but the terrain it meets here makes its expansiveness behave in a distinctive way. Jupiter operates through increase, through widening, through a kind of generous excess that in many houses produces obvious abundance. The 6th house, by contrast, is a house concerned with limitation in the most literal sense, with the body's actual capacities, with the discipline required to maintain health and function, with service rendered in specific and bounded ways. This is traditionally considered a difficult house for any planet to occupy comfortably, classified among the cadent houses, which are associated with lesser strength and less direct efficacy than the angular or succedent houses. Jupiter's expansive nature meeting the 6th house's concern with limitation produces a genuinely interesting tension, one that can resolve toward real, practical generosity, or toward a kind of overextension that the 6th house's actual constraints cannot sustain. The 6th house, in traditional astrology, governs the body's health and illness, daily labour, servants and service rendered to others, and, in some traditions, small animals. It is, in the Hellenistic House of Joy doctrine, the house in which Mars rejoices, reflecting the sympathy between Mars's energetic, effortful nature and the 6th house's domain of labour, exertion, and the body's struggle to maintain itself against illness and decline. Jupiter holds no dignity here whatsoever, no domicile, no exaltation, no joy. And in fact, some traditions regard Jupiter's placement in a cadent house as a diminishment of its usual efficacy rather than an enhancement of it. This is worth stating as blatantly as possible. Of the placements covered so far in this series, Jupiter in the 6th house is among the least naturally suited to Jupiter's expansive temperament, and the overlay's gifts, where they appear, tend to arrive through deliberate effort rather than effortless abundance. From the Jupiter person's perspective, there is often a genuine and somewhat understated impulse to help with the house person's practical, daily concerns, their health, their workload, the unglamorous logistics of their life. This rarely takes the form of grand gesture, since grand gesture is not native to the 6th house's territory. It shows up instead in smaller, more sustained acts: encouragement toward better health habits, optimism about the house person's work situation, a tendency to want to lighten the house person's daily burden in whatever practical way presents itself. The Jupiter person may also bring a useful sense of perspective to the house person's relationship with their own body and routine. A reminder, gently offered, that the daily grind need not be experienced as quite so grim. From the house person's perspective, the experience is often one of feeling supported in the parts of life that rarely receive support. Most relationships do not concern themselves much with the mundane mechanics of another person's daily maintenance, their sleep, their workload, their minor health complaints, and a Jupiter overlay into the 6th house tends to make this ordinarily invisible territory feel, instead, genuinely attended to. The house person may notice an improved relationship to their own health and habits simply through proximity to the Jupiter person's optimism, or may find that practical burdens, at work, in caretaking responsibilities, in the management of daily life, feel lighter and more manageable than they did before this overlay was activated. At its most constructive, this overlay produces a relationship of real practical care, one in which the unglamorous labor of daily maintenance is shared and supported, rather than left to accumulate as a private burden. Health often benefits under this configuration, with the Jupiter person's general optimism translating into genuine encouragement toward better habits, more consistent care, a less punishing relationship to the body's needs and limits. Work and daily routine can also benefit, with the Jupiter person's expansive perspective helping the house person see possibility and improvement in circumstances that might otherwise feel merely grinding. There is, in this overlay's best expression, a quality of generous, practical partnership. Help freely given in the ordinary places where help is actually needed, rather than reserved for more visible or dramatic occasions. And yet, the tension between Jupiter's expansive nature and the sixth house's concern with limitation produces a shadow that is specific to this overlay and worth treating with real directness. Where Jupiter's excess elsewhere produces overspending or romantic overreach, in the sixth house, it risks producing a particular kind of practical neglect disguised as optimism, a tendency to wave away genuine health concerns, workload problems, or daily dysfunction with reassurance rather than addressing them with the sustained, unglamorous attention they actually require. Jupiter is not naturally inclined toward the kind of careful, repetitive maintenance the sixth house demands. Its instinct is to expand and improve through faith and confidence rather than through discipline. And faith and confidence, however genuinely felt, do not by themselves manage a chronic health condition or fix a dysfunctional work situation. There is also a pattern worth naming around the imbalance of caretaking itself. If the Jupiter person's optimism becomes a way of minimizing, rather than meeting the house person's actual daily struggles, the house person can end up feeling unseen in precisely the area, their ordinary, daily functioning, where they most need to be seen accurately rather than generously. Conversely, the house person, encouraged by the Jupiter person's expansive confidence, may take on more than their actual capacity allows. More work, more caretaking responsibility toward others, more physical demand on a body that has not been given the careful attention its limitations require. Jupiter's expansiveness, applied to a house governed by real bodily and practical limits, can produce a kind of overextension that looks like capability right up until it does not. A further risk concerns the tendency, under this overlay, to treat health and daily maintenance with insufficient seriousness. Jupiter's basic optimism is a genuine asset when it encourages someone to seek help, try a new habit, or trust that improvement is possible. It becomes a liability when it is substituted for actually consulting a doctor, actually addressing a workload that has become unsustainable, or actually attending to symptoms that require more than confidence to resolve. The sixth house does not respond well to being managed through faith alone, and a relationship that relies on Jupiter's natural optimism in place of the harder, more exacting attention this house's territory requires, can find its practical foundations quietly eroding, even while both people feel, in the moment, reasonably hopeful. The distinction between this overlay's nourishing and inflating expressions tends to rest on whether its genuine optimism is paired with actual follow-through. Jupiter expands the felt sense that things will improve. It does not, on its own, do the specific, repeated, often tedious work that the sixth house's territory actually demands. When the Jupiter person's encouragement motivates real attention to health and daily function, rather than substituting for it, this overlay produces meaningful practical support. When optimism stands in for action, the same overlay can leave real and addressable problems quietly unattended, cushioned by a hopefulness that feels good without actually fixing anything. At its highest expression, Jupiter in the sixth house creates a relationship of genuine practical partnership, one in which the unglamorous daily labor of maintaining a life is shared, supported, and met with real encouragement rather than left to accumulate in isolation. The Jupiter person's optimism, directed toward action rather than substituted for it, becomes a genuine asset to the house person's health and daily functioning. The house person, in turn, gives the Jupiter person's generosity a concrete and useful place to land in the small, sustained tasks that actually constitute a life. When balanced, Jupiter in the sixth house creates practical support, improved health habits, eased daily burden, and a partnership that takes the unglamorous work of maintenance seriously. When imbalanced, it can produce minimized health concerns, overextension beyond actual capacity, and an optimism that substitutes pleasantly for the harder, more exacting attention daily life and the body actually require. At its core, this overlay is about the experience of feeling practically supported in the ordinary, unglamorous parts of life that rarely receive attention elsewhere. The question it poses, and that only the two people involved can answer, is whether that support translates into real, sustained care, or whether it is, for now, simply the comfortable and untested feeling of hope standing in for help.
This was Jupiter in the sixth house in Synastry Overlays. Thank you for listening. Next, Jupiter in the seventh house.